The open highway stretched for miles, disappearing into the horizon. The late afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the trees lining the road. James and Claire Foster were halfway through their road trip, their SUV cruising smoothly along the road. Claire sat in the passenger seat, flipping through the map on her phone. "We should reach the next town in an hour. Maybe we can grab dinner there." James, gripping the steering wheel with one hand, nodded. "Sounds good. We'll refuel and check the oil, too." The road was empty except for a few distant cars. It was peaceful, until it wasn't. Headlights appeared in the rearview mirror. Bright. Too bright. James frowned. "What the hell?" A black pickup truck sped up behind them, closing the distance fast. The driver wasn't slowing down. "James!" Claire's voice was tight with worry. James gritted his teeth and moved to the right lane to let the truck pass. But instead, the pickup swerved dangerously close. The truck's engine roared. The driver, a man with a scar running down his cheek, leaned out of the window and smirked. James barely had time to react before the truck jerked left, forcing him onto the shoulder. "Damn it!" James yanked the wheel, tires screeching as the SUV skidded onto the gravel. Claire let out a sharp breath, gripping the door handle. "They did that on purpose!" James steadied the car, his hands tight on the wheel, his pulse hammered. "Yeah, and they're not done." You call. The truck slowed ahead, blocking the road. James clenched his jaw. They were playing a game, but he wasn't going to be their victim. James slowed the car but didn't stop. His mind raced. They were alone on the road, with no witnesses in sight. Claire's fingers dug into her seatbelt. "James, what do we do?" James exhaled. "Hold on." The truck suddenly swerved off the road onto a dirt path, disappearing into the trees. Claire turned in her seat, watching as they vanished. "That was weird." James kept driving, but the tension lingered. "Yeah, too weird." 10 minutes later, the town came into view. A small roadside stop with a gas station, a few diners, and a supermarket. "We'll stop here," James said. "Get gas, check the oil, and grab something to eat." As they pulled into the station, James noticed the same black pickup parked nearby, and Scarface was standing beside it. He was watching them. Claire stepped into the small supermarket while James handled the car maintenance. She walked past shelves of snacks and bottled drinks, trying to shake the unease from earlier. Near the coffee machines, a couple stood talking. The woman had long blonde hair, and the man wore a leather jacket. They looked friendly. The woman smiled at Claire. "Long drive?" Claire nodded, relaxing a little. "Feels like it. We're just stopping for gas and food." The man chuckled. "Same here. I'm Michael, and this is Anna." "I'm Claire." Anna tilted her head. "Be careful on the road. Some people out here aren't so friendly." Claire hesitated. "What do you mean?" Michael gave a casual shrug. "Some folks like to play games with travelers. Cause a little trouble." Claire's stomach twisted. Did they know about the black pickup? Her phone buzzed. A message from James. "Car's ready. Let's go." She gave the couple a quick smile. "It was nice meeting you." Anna waved. "Stay safe." As Claire walked out, she felt uneasy, because Michael and Anna were watching her leave. Back on the road, the sun had dipped lower in the sky. James sighed. "I don't like this." Claire glanced at him. "What?" "Scarface was at the gas station," he said. "He saw us." Claire's fingers tightened around her seatbelt. "Maybe it's just a coincidence." James didn't believe in coincidences. Then the car sputtered. The dashboard flickered, and the engine coughed before dying. James muttered a curse and guided the SUV onto the roadside. Claire sighed. "Great." A pair of headlights appeared behind them. A car pulled over. Michael and Anna stepped out. "Car trouble?" Michael asked. James nodded, not trusting them yet. "Yeah, I think it's the wiring." Michael looked under the hood. "Could take a while. Claire, why don't you wait somewhere safe? There's a bar a mile up the road." Anna nodded. "Come with me, Claire. It's better than waiting out here." Claire hesitated, but eventually agreed. I'll wait for you at the bar. As the car drove away with Claire inside, James checked under the hood again. Then he saw the problem. Just a couple of loose wires. A quick fix. The car roared back to life. But as James reached the bar, Claire was gone. James stormed inside the bar. His wife wasn't there. The bartender frowned. Something wrong? My wife was supposed to be here, James said, his voice tight. The bartender shrugged. She left. Looked like she knew the people she was with. James's blood ran cold. His phone rang. An unknown number, he answered. A rough voice spoke. If you want your wife back, bring 50 grand to the old motel on Route 9. No cops. The line went dead. James stood frozen, his grip tightening on the phone. Michael and Anna. It was all a setup, and Claire was in danger. James stood outside the bar, gripping his phone so tightly his knuckles turned white. 50 grand, an old motel on Route 9. No cops. His mind raced. He didn't have that kind of cash. He ran back to the SUV, started the engine, and sped toward town. His only option was the local bank. If they expected him to withdraw that much money, maybe they had a plan to trap him too. The streets were quiet as he pulled up outside the Bank of Mayfield. The neon "open" sign flickered weakly. James took a deep breath and stepped inside. A tired-looking teller, a woman in her 50s, looked up. Sir? James forced his voice to stay calm. I need to withdraw $50,000. Her eyebrows shot up. That's a large sum. Do you have an account here? James exhaled. No, but I have credit and savings. I can pull from both. She hesitated. I'll need to see your ID. James handed it over, glancing at the clock. Every second that passed was another second Claire was in danger. The teller typed into the system, her expression unreadable. Then she looked up, her voice careful. I'll need a moment. She walked to the back. Something felt off. James glanced around. There was only one other customer, an older man, and a single security guard near the door. But his instincts screamed trap. His phone vibrated. Another unknown number. He stepped away from the counter and answered. You think we're stupid? The voice growled. We saw you go into the bank. You try anything, your wife dies. James's blood turned to ice. The call disconnected. A moment later, the teller returned, her face tense. Sir, we can't process this request without approval. You'll have to wait. James didn't wait. He turned and walked out, forcing himself to stay calm. He had just lost time, and the kidnappers knew. James jumped into his SUV and peeled out of the parking lot. The bank was useless. The cops were useless. He had only one option left. Find them himself. His mind replayed every interaction, every face. Michael, Anna, Scarface. Were they working together? If they had Claire, they'd need a place to keep her before the exchange. A motel was risky. They wouldn't want attention. James pulled out his phone and searched nearby abandoned locations. Then he saw it. An old farmhouse just off Route 9, 2 miles before the motel. Secluded. Perfect for holding someone hostage. It was a long shot, but it was all he had. James killed the SUV's headlights and rolled to a stop near the farmhouse. The place was dark except for a single dim light from inside. A truck was parked outside. James recognized it. Michael's car. He clenched his fists. They were here. Keeping low, he moved toward the side of the house, careful to avoid the gravel. He peered through a cracked window. Inside, Claire sat on a chair, her hands tied in front of her. Michael stood nearby, talking to someone on the phone. James scanned the room. 2 other men. One of them was Scarface. 3 armed kidnappers. One of him. He needed a weapon. His eyes flicked to Michael's truck. He moved fast, keeping to the shadows. He peeked through the window, saw a crowbar in the passenger seat. Perfect. As quietly as possible, James opened the door, grabbed the crowbar, and closed it just as softly. Then he heard footsteps behind him. A voice growled, "Big mistake, pal." James spun just as a fist came flying toward his face. He dodged, swinging the crowbar. The man stumbled back. One of the kidnappers. Not Michael. Not Scarface. James didn't stop. He slammed the crowbar into the guy's knee. The man collapsed, groaning. Inside the house, someone yelled. James rushed toward the door just as it flew open. Scarface stepped out, gun raised. James dove just as a gunshot echoed into the night. The bullet whizzed past his ear. Scarface aimed again. James threw the crowbar. It hit Scarface's wrist. He dropped the gun with a curse. James lunged, tackling him to the ground. The two men rolled, fists flying. Scarface got a punch in, but James elbowed him hard in the ribs. The guy grunted in pain. James grabbed the fallen gun and aimed it at Scarface's head. "Where's my wife?" James panted. Scarface sneered. "Inside." James pressed the gun to his temple. "Then you're taking me in." James shoved Scarface forward, gun in hand. Inside, Michael turned in surprise, reaching for his weapon too slow. James fired a warning shot into the floor. "Drop it!" Michael froze. Claire gasped. "James!" James's voice was sharp. "Untie her, now!" Michael hesitated. James stepped closer, gun steady. "I won't say it again." Anna, standing by the table, raised her hands. "Do what he says." Michael exhaled sharply but cut Claire's ropes. She ran into James's arms. He kept the gun trained on them. "We're leaving. If you follow us, I'll put a bullet in every single one of you." They didn't move. James backed toward the door, Claire at his side. Then they bolted. They jumped into the SUV and James hit the gas. Bullets shattered the back windshield, but James kept driving. The road blurred past. Claire clutched at his arm. "I thought I'd never see you again." James's jaw was tight. "They made a mistake." Claire looked at him. "What mistake?" His hands clenched the wheel. "They should have killed me when they had the chance." James didn't run. He hunted them down. He knew they wouldn't let them escape. They'd come after him. So James made sure he found them first. The next day, a black pickup truck was found flipped in a ditch. The people inside, missing. Days later, the old farmhouse burned to the ground. No one knew who did it. But the people who took Claire, they were never seen again. James and Claire left town, together. The road stretched ahead, quiet once more. But James knew one thing. If trouble ever came for them again, he wouldn't run. He'd end it. Subscribe for more stories. Like and click the notification button.